this short documentary series on the humanities in Europe today, which starts from Europe but will expand to cover, I hope, the whole world, is the initiative of the European network of humanities centers and institutes.
In the history of my career, people have always tried very hard to label me.
Because I was born in Italy and started school in Italy, it was always a self-evidence for me that if I ever went to university, it would be the humanities.
Et moi-même, qui avait 15 ans à l'époque, qui a commencé par faire de la science, j'ai beaucoup réfléchi aux questions d'Hiroshima et de Nagasaki, et cela m'a amené aux sciences humaines.
I think I was 15 or 16-year-old and I read in the newspaper an article about a physicist, Ad Lagendijk, who had his inaugural speech in Amsterdam about the arrogance of physics and how all kinds of physicists make claims about religion that they should not make.
There are several descriptions I can offer of myself, but the one that I would prize the most is that if I could call myself a public intellectual.
I'm mainly an empirical scientist who works on animal behavior and animal cognition, but I write popular books, and as a result I get in touch with all sorts of people.
J'ai fait une thèse en physique, en théorie des rayons X, qu'on m'ait proposé de faire une traduction d'Einstein en français. Alors c'était sous l'égide du CNRS dont j'ai déjà parlé, c'est-à-dire ceux qui coordonnent toute la recherche en France. Je devais diriger une équipe qui comprenait des philosophes, des scientifiques, des germanistes, des historiens. C'était une quinzaine de personnes et il y en avait 8 qui vraiment travaillaient, faisaient le travail de tous les âges.
Now, one of the things that attracted me to the humanities in the way that it was being taught in the Commonwealth, the British education system, is that it had built in a great sense of connection to the community. It was really about service, and it was not uncommon for everybody after classes to do some sort of volunteer work. I checked this with my colleagues in the Ivy Leagues of the United States recently and discovered that it is still the case that, for instance, for admission to a place like Harvard, high scores, of course, are absolutely necessary, but also hundreds of hours of community service, of volunteer work. It is still the case that that is one of the qualifying elements for admission to the big schools. So that sense of a connection between university, particularly the humanities, and humanity, the real people out there, was completely crucial and attracted me to the field.
I think that people have something of themselves invested in their institutions, in their country. I mean, some people don't, but some people do. And therefore you have to handle those institutions carefully, because those institutions are not just, as it were, machines. So we have some awful phrases like the machinery of government, or the mechanics of change, and so on. So I don't see society or politics in terms of those metaphors, machine metaphors. I see it as something more organic and ecological, and as institution as repositories of the work, the creativity, the experience, and the identities of people.
Je suis à la retraite depuis 13 ans, c'est-à-dire que ça veut dire que je suis pensionnée de l'État français pour les bons services rendus auparavant. Et dans ces services, ils ont consisté essentiellement à enseigner la physique. Au début, j'étais enseignant-chercheur, comme je vous disais, c'est-à-dire que les critères d'évaluation étaient en principe recherche et enseignement, et même on a ajouté un peu plus tard la vulgarisation, la divulgation de la science. Mais de fait, le principal critère, c'était celui de la recherche.
I think the most important thing is that the humanities start looking more carefully at the world and what they can study there, rather than only studying itself and its own history. Because there are so many themes going on at the moment. Technology's impact on what it means to be human, the environmental issues, terrorism, new forms of religion, extremism. There's so many things that we need to understand and that are part of what it means to be human, that are really a very good basis for, well, starting to do research in the humanities. And I think if we could do that, if we could maybe join forces somehow and find common themes that are worth exploring from all the various subfields in the humanities, I think that would be very important.
Lorsque vous parlez de position, il faudrait définir un lieu bien particulier où j'habite dans la totalité du savoir. Hein? Eh bien non. Je n'ai pas de position. Parce que, puisque je vous ai dit tout à l'heure que j'étais dans le pont entre les sciences et les lettres, ben, je n'ai pas de position, puisque je suis précisément dans la relation entre les deux. Et je crois que la grande tradition philosophique, c'est cela même, c'est-à-dire non, pas de position.
You need also not only to be multidisciplinary in your own way of thinking, or perhaps interdisciplinary, but you need to be able to work in multidisciplinary teams, and that means respecting the way that other people set research questions, what they think the problem is. Because finding the answer to things is one kind of challenge in life, but the biggest challenge really is knowing what the right question is.